Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. It's time to take a look at another Siege Transformer, and we're going to take a look at one done of one of the more popular characters. We're taking a look at Springer. Of course, Springer is the first triple changer to be done in the Siege line. He will later be joined at the end of the year by Astrotrain and Apeface. As such, there's a lot going for Springer being the first triple changer in this new toy line. The only problem is that the mechanisms that are done to help change him are in a lot of cases, it's a pain in the butt, to be honest with you folks. Of course, I've been one of the few that's been a real detractor of Springer, so part of that could be just my own personal bias, but a fair amount of it also stems from the fact this toy is a bit of a pain to transform. But of course, before we even begin to think about that, why don't we show how he compares to his Generation 1 version? And I think we can clearly say that the new one is the superior toy in every sense of the word. The original one was pretty much a boxy block that you couldn't do much with. I mean, you had a joint at the elbow and up at the shoulder for the arms, and that was about it. And a sword blade that kept falling down. Whereas on our new Springer, what do we have? We can turn his head from side to side, and he can look up and down. His arms can be raised up to about that far, and he can swing his arm almost all the way around. He does have a joint at his elbow, so he can bend his arm at the elbow. And there is a bit of a swivel in there, so you can swivel the arm at the bicep. His legs do spread apart all the way, so he can do a full splits. You can also raise his leg at the hip about 90 degrees, and you can bend the leg at the knee about 90 degrees. So, a fully articulated Springer is a nice touch. Now, I would show how to convert Springer here into his alternate modes, but this is a very difficult one for me to handle, so we're just going to do them off camera. But first, before we do that, we'll show off all of Springer's loose accessories, in case you happen to buy this toy loose. Now, of course, here are all 5 of Springer's accessories. The most commonly forgotten about one would be this turret piece, since it's only used when he's in one mode. Now, it's used for all of his weapons, but predominantly this is the thing that will form his rotor blade for the chopper. Of course, the blades for it are formed out of these 2 swords, which are described as W10 Air Slice Chopper Blades. Which, of course, you would just connect the swords themselves into the hole here at the bottom, and then there you would have it. His rotating chopper blade. Then, of course, if you've got him in robot mode, these slots that are here near the base of the swords will attach to the side of Springer's backpack, allowing Springer to carry his swords wherever he goes. Then, of course, we have his 2 guns. This one here is a J10 Warp Blaster. Which, of course, he also has this one, which is described as a C10 Void Blast Capacitor. So he comes with 2 guns, but of course you can combine them into the one if you wish. But by doing so, you can also attach the turret to this, and then Springer can store all of his weapons attached to his backpack, like so. Or even more fun, as the weapon for his rocket car, you combine the guns like so, remove that, but attach the swords onto the notches on the back of the one gun. Then you attach the turret at the bottom of the rear gun, and you have a DEW Mega Missile Launcher to be his superb gun on his car mode. And let's get Springer into the car mode and see how he looks. Now here we are, both of them are in the rocket car mode, and I think it's safe to say that the Siege version here is more akin to how we saw him in the 1980s cartoon. Whereas God only knows where the design came for the G1 version. My only real gripe with it, besides how much of a pain it is to transform him into it, is the combined rocket launcher gun just seems a little large when you compare him to the rest of the toy. It just comes off looking a little weird in my eyes, but that's just me. Now, of course, how well does he roll on his wheels? Not the best. That's partially due to the way that they've got a little bit of plastic extending down near the front wheels, so it does make it a little hard for the wheels to drive along the surface like this. Alright, next up is the helicopter mode. And there we have it, folks. Both Springers in their helicopter mode. And I definitely gotta say, the Siege one definitely wins out on this one, too. And the G1 version isn't bad by itself, but this one here for the Siege version definitely screams ready for action. I mean, the only real downside is the fact that you can still see some of the car tires, but since he's supposed to be a Cybertronian helicopter, I guess that's forgivable in some aspects. And he does hold together pretty good at the legs, so that does allow you to swoosh him. And he does swoosh pretty good. But now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Springer? As triple changers go, Springer is always going to be one of them that the fans will want. And that I can respect out of the fans. However, I think that Hasbro and Takara overcomplicated how they made this version. This one is a bit of a pain in the butt to transform, especially with the relatively small pictures that are included in the instructions. It would be nice if it was a little easier, or the instructions were a little clearer on exactly what you're doing. That would make the toy a little more satisfying to play with. So I recommend this for 8-year-olds and above, and granted I'm 5 times that age, and I still had a lot of trouble dealing with this toy. Maybe it's just me, folks, but this one is a bit on the complicated side. But I will agree with the fact that it is a vast and considerable improvement to its Generation 1 counterpart in every aspect. Both of the alt modes look more akin to what we remember from the animated series. The new one has more articulation than the original, and it's also got more weaponry. What more could you ask for? I'm going to put the Siege version of Springer somewhere in the middle tier. I mean, it's certain the difficulty for it makes me keep it from being a top tier toy, just due to the fact that I think the difficulty is more frustrating than challenging. If it was just a challenge, then maybe I'd put him in the top tier, but Since I think the challenge is frustrating, we're going to leave him in the middle tier, which, when you look at it, is still even a considerable improvement to the original. I have yet to review the original Springer, but I think you can tell from the way this video is going how well it's going to be for him. So at any rate, that concludes my review of the Siege version of Springer. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you like this video, drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and join up in our ranks. Also, don't forget to ring the bell so you'll be notified when I post new content. And also, please consider sharing your thoughts about Springer in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.